Will you pray with me? Gracious God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. If you are looking for high-stakes political maneuvering, look no further than planning a wedding, or specifically, creating a guest list for a wedding. You see, you start with this beautiful vision of all of your loved ones gathered in one place to celebrate the happy couple. And then you realize that they can't all fit in the reception hall that you've booked, and you have some painful choices to make. Who do you invite? Who do you leave out? Does everyone get a +1? Sit-down dinner or cocktail buffet? Now these days, with the cost of weddings, of which I am intimately aware, the decisions on guest lists and menu often do come down to finances. But that doesn't make them any less fraught. I've known families who have fractured because someone was left off the guest list or not seated at the right table or didn't receive a vegetarian option. For some reason, weddings can bring out the best and the worst in people. And so I take heart seeing that wedding guest protocol was just as tricky in Jesus' day. In many of his parables, he uses banquets, and especially wedding banquets, as a metaphor for life in the kingdom of God. Not because they are heavenly. In fact, it's because they are so human. For Jesus, dinner tables of all kinds are a microcosm of the human community. That's why he talks about them so much, and why most of his profound teachings are shared around them. Whether in the upper room with just his closest group of friends, or at the house of a Pharisee with questionable motives, or on a hillside with 5,000 hungry people, Jesus knows the power of dinner table politics. Now, I don't mean the kind of politics that happen over Thanksgiving with your difficult brother-in-law. I mean the way that our table manners, our guest lists, our seating charts, and what's on the menu can reveal our values, can show how we understand power. And that's at the heart of what we call politics, how we use our power to lift up our highest values in community. Jesus sees dinner table as a microcosm of our politics, and what he sees troubles him, and he's ready to turn it all upside down. And that's what he does this morning. He's seated at the table of a Pharisee, a powerful religious lawyer and leader of the temple, and everything is just as it should be. Who is there, where they're seated, what is being served, and it's a dinner party structured around two key concepts in first century Jewish life: honor and holiness. Honor reflects who is important. In a hierarchical, patriarchal culture, there are clear lines of who is on top and how the pecking order goes. And the one on top, whether king of the land or father of the family, wields all the power in their sphere. They sit at the head of the table, they get the best food, and they eat first. This arrangement is important to reflecting your family's social status. You see, you'd only share meals with people of your own rank. If you invite someone from a lower class, it is only to put them in your debt. To invite otherwise, to socialize with them on an equal basis, disrupts the ordained order of things and would be a source of shame for both parties. Now, the holiness codes reflect meals as an extension of worship. The food is prepared according to kosher laws, and ritual hand washing is required. Everyone at the table must be clean, and it's not just about hygiene. It's about purity, spiritual purity. To eat with people who were considered unclean, and that would include lepers or tax collectors, Gentiles, even such professions as fishermen and shepherds, menstruating women, anyone who deals with blood, that would violate the purity laws. These laws determined who would be included and excluded at the table, and they were the same laws that applied to the temple. See, these rules were not just about the meal itself, but also a way of honoring God. They set the Jews apart in their society as God's chosen people, and following them for the Jews strengthened their faith and their identity. So let's remember that these holiness and honor codes, those dinner party politics, aren't rooted in injustice or callousness. They come out of a desire to live rightly and please God according to tradition. Folks are just trying to be law-abiding, moral, upstanding people, to throw a good dinner party. But for Jesus, both these values of honor and holiness have become way too important. They've become outsized. He feels they take precedence over God's values of mercy and compassion and inclusion. They create in-groups and out-groups, whereas God only sees one family. So sitting at the table with the Pharisees, Jesus senses a teaching moment. And he dares them to expand their guest list and rearrange the place cards. Through his story, he challenges them to open the eyes to the people in their midst who they have ignored or neglected or shunned. To honor the humanity in the person labeled unclean. To experience the holiness in the person labeled sinner. To create an ethos of radical welcome, of hospitality that doesn't just tweak the conventional table manners, but completely upends them and creates a whole new reality. You see, Jesus doesn't just want his community to have a new social ethic. He wants it to be a new social ethic. He wants God's kingdom values to be reflected in everything we do and say, in all the ways we live, and all the ways we love. So, I wonder how Jesus would respond to our social ethic, to our society's dinner party politics today. I think he would completely lose his appetite. Because today, in our culture, in our country, one whose leaders continue to proclaim is a Christian nation, I believe our politics are toxic. Now we know that the values of our nation that were written in quill pen and parchment almost 250 years ago, the ones that said all men are created equal, and we know that the values that were enshrined over 160 years ago, so that the least among us will have the same rights as the most powerful, and no one will ever be enslaved or second class, these values, they've never been achieved. I agree we've made moves and we've made progress, but our political toxicity rears its head again and again like it is doing right now. Yet even throughout our darkest times, there have been people and movements and communities who have held on to hope, believing that these ideals that we enshrined as a nation are rooted in a shared dream, in what we see as the best of humanity. These ideals give us something to strive for, to challenge us and inspire us to create in our imperfect and messy human way a beloved community, a kingdom of God. But now today, I think we can see that these ideals are not just being ignored, they are being completely rejected. They are being stripped away. One ICE raid, one extrajudicial rendition, one arrested homeless person at a time. Our leaders, in some distorted quest to remake our country, are using the language of demonization and dehumanization to describe our brothers and sisters, our fellow children of God, our neighbors, who simply seek a better life here with us. They are distorting or ignoring the laws in cruel and heartless ways. And they mock those who suffer with humiliating memes, all while wearing gold crosses around their necks. I don't know what Jesus they imagine they are following, but it isn't the one that we meet here. Their Christianity seems unrecognizable. Instead of welcoming the stranger, they deport the stranger. Instead of caring for the sick, they cut cancer treatment for children. Instead of feeding the hungry, they let crops rot in the fields. They look at the genocide in Gaza and only see a real estate opportunity. And when we push back, and we cry out, and we try to resist in the name of our values and the Christ we strive to follow, they double down on the cruelty and they tell us elections have consequences. Politics matter. And I know that so many of us this morning here feel angry and scared and overwhelmed and helpless. And we ask, how can we stop this? The political system feels unequal to the crisis we are facing. Can we wait till the midterms? Will it make any difference? Will we be able to reclaim our country again? I ask myself those questions every day, and I still don't have an answer. But like many of you, I am committed to speaking out and protesting and donating and voting for leaders who share our values. And many of us do try and make a change with what we do each day. We volunteer in soup kitchens and homeless shelters. We've accompanied immigrants to their court dates, provided counseling for trans kids, held drug-addicted newborns in the NICU. And this helps, and it makes a difference, and it channels our fear and our love, and it's how we live out our faith-based politics, and it can help bend the arc toward justice. But in some ways, I think our political activism and our personal charity feel both too abstract and too small. What Jesus really calls us to do first, before anything else, is not solely to focus on the politics and the crisis out there, as dire as they are, but on the politics and the personal crisis in here, in our own hearts. And in many ways, this is so much harder. When Jesus proclaims his vision for the kingdom of God, he does not launch a political manifesto or a civil action or a protest. When he proclaims his vision, he tells it must begin with us. The kingdom of God is within you, he says again and again. You already have hearts and minds and souls capable of creating the beloved community. But too often we block it with our fear and our anger and our despair. And that can make us unable to see the politics right in front of us. He tells us that until we have a full-on change of heart, we can never effect lasting change in the hearts of others. Like all revolutions, it must begin in here. As he sits at that dinner party, he tells those folks around the table that the kingdom of God will never be made real until we examine the power we have and how we use it in that most intimate of spaces. How the choices we make about who to let in and who to keep out sets the stage for everything else we do. And so he looks around and he asks us, who is the stranger in your life? Are you welcoming them in or shutting the door? Who is the outcast? The one who disrupts your privilege? Are you making room for them to sit right next to you? Or do you keep them at arm's length? Who are the most vulnerable people you encounter each day? Do you look them in the eye, see their humanity, see Christ in them? Or do you look away and pretend you don't see? This is where it all starts, Jesus says. Enlarge the guest list and rearrange the place cards in your own life first. For Jesus launched a revolution to create a whole way of living, and it started small, around a dinner table, again and again. And yet, once that revolution took hold in their hearts, it couldn't help but grow. And so may we have the courage and the compassion and the imagination to upend the table in our own lives and create an entirely new dinner party politics. For the change that starts there, that starts here, is the first step to changing the world. May it be so. Amen.